Welcome to episode 169 of Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon.
And I'm Matthew Kay.
And joining us on the show tonight, we have Imagine Rigney. Imagine is 20 years old, and he is a professional LEGO artist, but he is not officially sanctioned by the LEGO Group. And he is a member of Cowlug and Gamerlug, and you can find his work on sites such as Mock Pages and Flickr. So it's great to have you joining us on the show tonight, Imagine.
Hello.
And one quick note, I wanted to mention that if you followed the channel for a few years now, you might have noticed a couple other interviews that we've done with Imagine throughout the years at Brickworld Chicago. So I'll make sure to link those in the description of this video so you can check those out. He always displays some incredible creations at Brickworld Chicago every year. So if you want to get a closer look at those, I'll have links to a couple interviews we've done with him at Brickworld in the past. Now, to start us off here, Imagine, do you just tell us a little bit about your history with the LEGO community and kind of how you first got into the online community?
Well, I got into the online community when I was still a part of Leahi, the LEGO users group in Hawaii, and it was the first big thing that I ever got kind of known for was the Howl's Moving Castle I built back when I was 13, and in fact I actually built it with my mother then, which was kind of cool. It was a fun collaboration between us two. And then it just kind of spiraled out of control from there.
Very interesting. And now, are you a longtime LEGO fan? What's the earliest memory that you have with LEGO bricks, LEGO toys?
The earliest memory I have is probably back when I was 3, and I got my very first LEGO set. It was the old Naboo Starfighter, the one that came with a little Anakin and a couple battle droids. It was bright primary yellow and gray. It was kind of an ugly set thinking back, but it was the first one I ever got, and it was really, really fun. And since then, I've just started pretty much off with Star Wars, and I went into other things, Bionicle, Technic, and so on. And now I've got all sorts of LEGO stuff.
And so, at what point did it kind of make that transition from a medium for expression versus kind of a toy or something fun to play with?
Well, I always built with it, and I always built the kit, and almost always would take it apart and build the alternate builds, and then take those apart and build my own stuff. So it was never really just for me. It was always something else, but it never really became a career-ish thing till I was... When did I get my first commission? 15, 16, I think? Yeah.
Okay. And so you kind of skipped that whole age of just lining up sets on a shelf in pristine condition and dusting them every day. I've never done that myself.
Yeah, no, there was never a shelf era. It was always smashing and flying and zooming and pew-pew and...
That's awesome.
Yeah, there was never... But this looks nice here. It was always down and dirty, and yeah. There were many things lost outside.
So outdoor LEGO playing, what they advise you not to do at the beginning of the instruction booklets.
Back then, that wasn't a thing.
That wasn't a thing, yes.
They hadn't put the warning in yet. He didn't realize it.
Didn't know.
Yeah. I had to find out the hard way. But no, back when I lived in Hawaii, when I was 9 to... How long did we live there? 9 to 15? 7 to 14. Yeah, 7 to 14. Me and my friends would all come over to my garage. We'd throw out a tarp, and we'd just build on the tarp all day, every day, for years. So, yeah. Lots of faded, slightly bricks now in my collection.
That's awesome. A little hint of salty air on them, perhaps, as well.
Oh, yeah. Sand. There's sand.
And now you mentioned...
I don't know how we didn't live near a beach. There's sand.
You mentioned Leahi. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Leahi.
And so, what was that like?
Like
So that was the first... Lehigh, yeah. What was that group like? What was it like being?
It was a really fun, easygoing group. It was really what started the whole me wanting to be a part of the LEGO community. So if it wasn't for that group, I probably wouldn't be where I am now.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool. So is that's still very active today? Then I'm assuming there's quite a few members there.
Yes,
do they do shows and stuff there?
Shows at museums. They don't have the community window at the store anymore, so pretty much museums do still do stuff with some school groups there, some of their own shows, and stuff at the few conventions that are frequent Hawaii too. So they're still very active, and still really good builders.
And so, what was it like? How did you discover them? I always think that story is very interesting. I myself discovered my local lug by going to a science museum at the tender age of 12, I think. That was how I discovered them. The little postcard I took home, I went on Google, and I was like, no! So that's my discovery story.
So when I was younger, the Lego did the, what was it? The 50th anniversary like special contest thing, and they had 5 finalists, and they flew them out to Legoland, and they did like an on-site build there to see who was like the grand prize winner. And I was one of the lucky 5 people that actually won the sort of the contest and was flown out to Legoland to do this on-site build. I didn't win it there, but it was a really, really fun experience. And after that, Leahi actually kind of found me and sort of got me into the group and started working with them. So
that is
yeah,
a very,
I didn't really actually find them.
That's awesome. That is a much more
Yeah,
awesome story.
Yeah, it was unexpected but really fun.
Yeah, that is really great. And then after you left Hawaii, you moved to Colorado, where I believe you live now. So what was that transition like, and what's the community like in Colorado that you're part of now?
It was a fairly easy transition, with the exception of having to figure out all the Lego I had for insurance purposes, which was an interesting experience, because the people who packed all our stuff didn't realize that Lego was worth that much, so that was fun. But the group here in Colorado is a whole lot bigger than it was in Leahi. Where Leahi, we had like 20, 30 active people. Here in Colorado, we've got several hundred. So it's a much larger group, a much more diverse group as far as what they build, what their expertise levels are. We have a lot more Technic builders here.
Interesting. You have certain luminaries of the Lego.
So, okay.
Certain luminaries of the Lego community, like Ryan Howarder, Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good friend.
That's awesome. And so, well, what was it like integrating yourself with the community there? Just a simple email coming out to a meeting, showing up somewhere?
Well, when I first moved here, I was only 14. Yeah, sorry, 14. And they don't let people who are under 16 join Cowlug. So the leader of the group from Leahi actually kind of gave me some sort of letter of recommendation saying, it's okay if you grandfather him into the group. He's part of our community and we like him, so just let him be a part of it. And the Cowlug accepted, and that was yeah. So it was a fairly easy transition because of that.
Slide under the door or something like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And another cool thing you do there in Colorado is you have a Lego club for neighborhood kids. So what's that like?
Yes, we have the Lego Fight Club, more or less, where we have 4 boys and a little girl that come over and we build and smash, and I send them on like role-play mission things periodically, and yeah, that's fun. But since it's Fight Club, we really can't talk about it.
We'll move on from that topic then. And something we wanted to make sure we covered was you've posted a lot, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. You've done a lot of really incredible builds over the years, so we wanted to make sure we talked about some of them. One is the Bank of the Prophet, which I think was it last year that you had this on display at Brickworld Chicago?
Last year and the year before, if I remember correctly. I brought it back because we needed something to hide the TV for Gamerlug. That's
okay.
Really the only reason that build exists is to hide the TV.
Yeah, so this is an incredible build. If you can talk about this a little bit, kind of what your thought process and the design was and what inspired you to do this?
Well, after I first found the first BioShock game and loved it, it was just incredible in every way. And in fact, it was my mother who suggested I get the game in the first, which is a little weird. But after the first game, and then the second game, and then the long-anticipated Infinite game, when I first saw that the trailer for that release, like a couple of years before it actually came out, I immediately wanted something from it, but I really didn't have anything to go off of. So when it came out, and then after playing through it multiple times, I finally settled on Lake of the Prophet location, because it's like really the only area I could feasibly like kind of cut out of the game to build, and even then I had to scale it down like 2 or 3 times because it was just so vast and massive, this location. And then it was just pretty much sitting there and putting pieces together. I don't have any like digital stuff I do, or even when I order parts, I just kind of wing it. I order a couple hundred of this, a couple hundred of that, and then double it a couple times.
No drawings, nothing like that. Blueprints. It's just all kind of.
Not really.
Okay. Just make it up as you go, sort
Since
of.
it wasn't like a video game, it was fairly easy to like actually go in there and walk around to get some of the spacing of certain things. But
Mm-hmm.
and then one of the actual, I think it was the map designer for that level of the game, actually after I posted it, emailed me on Flickr to congratulate me on how good a job I did of actually accurately representing it, which is really
That's awesome. Usually, when people build something of that scale, I always hear stories about graph paper and meticulous, digital rendering beforehand. But I love that, just winging it, just kind of going.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I built.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Up to a deadline and doing it up as I go along.
What kind of pre-planning do you do in your head? Do you kind of conceptualize like your next 10 moves before you get there, or?
Oh, I think the hell out of everything. Rarely ever is there not some plan that I always inevitably deviate off of halfway through the project. But yeah, I think about builds many, many months before I actually start them, just so I can get some scope in my mind. Typically when I'm playing the game, too.
Sort of just gathering sort of little tidbits, tucking them away, all that good stuff.
Yeah, something like that.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. What's it like bringing a build of this size to a convention? Have you done other things of this size? Is that difficult for you to get that to the shows?
Well, my mother's laughing in the background, but I find it's rather easy, in fact. But she's incredibly stressed during the whole transportation process. She's the one driving it to the show, and I just put it together. I have no problem putting stuff together, but as we're like driving along and she hits a speed bump and you hear something smash and she starts swearing at the top of her lungs, it's an entertaining experience.
Potholes hurt even more when there's Lego in the back. It's true.
Indeed, yes.
I always
And
think
there
that
are quite
a
a few-
Lego hearse would be the perfect transportation vehicle. Something with a nice air ride suspension, big back body. Great. I want to get a Lego hearse.
Yes, you get on that. You design one of those. Yeah, we'll market it. We'll make millions. Yeah.
Yes, tons of A-fulls. It'll all buy it up.
That's a large market.
The whole untapped market. Lego hearse.
Yeah. And something else we wanted to make sure we talked about was your you've done a lot of commission builds over the years as well. So if you can talk about kind of how you first got into those, how that usually works with, do people just contact you kind of out of the blue and say they want you to do a build? How does that work?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. They Flickr or email me personally with some sort of absurd request, and then we give them a rough estimate of some sort and tell them how long it's usually going to take, and then we just kind of work it out from there. The first one was, I believe it was Artifacts, contacted me. He has a YouTube channel. Contacted me about doing some Ninjago stuff, Ninjago themed builds. And then there was the Crum and Forster build, which was actually a corporate commission, which was really kind of cool.
And Joshua,
you're
on site right now, right?
Yeah, I've got a photo here that I'm sharing.
And
So
all this hammering fun stuff.
So yeah, so this build then, what is this photo that I have here? Where is this on display? Is this some kind of like show convention type of?
It was a special like insurance convention they had down in Colorado.
Riveting
and
stuff.
They contacted me to build build a piece of art on site for them. So we actually had to order something like 25,000 bricks from 25,000 2x4 bricks from Lego. And in fact, I kind of freaked Lego out because I didn't think they had that many in the warehouse that they could just send to someone. So, yeah, we were. My mother typically does all the acquisition for parts for commissions. So she actually figured out how to order that many pieces through Pick-a-Brick, because usually they cap it at $999. And if you keep clicking the add one, it adds another one to that $999, and you can do that in perpetuity. So she just kept clicking it, and then they sent the order through, and then we got calls like, "How did you do it?" Because our system's not supposed to be able to do that.
Oh, that's.
And she was like, hack it, or what did you do? Like, no, just click, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna have to figure out how to disable that." I don't think they ever did, but for a while, the site actually said they didn't let you purchase any red 2x4s for like about a month after she did that. Yeah. She broke the system.
That's amazing. I'm trying to think right now, but I know when they send out those lug support boxes, don't they come with those shipping tubs of like red 2x4? Hasn't that been like offered? You know what I'm talking about?
Lately, yeah, but not back
like
then.
Did they just send you several of those, or did it come in? Like, how big does that what does that physically look like? I'm just trying to.
So, the whole shipping story is something completely different. Because, you think with such a large order, they would send it like in the lug support boxes or lug bulk boxes. No, for when you order like normal Pick-a-Brick, they come in these little boxes about this big by about that wide that aren't like stable at all. They just sent us like 30 or 40 of those on a pallet.
Oh,
it was not handled very well at all. Stuff was falling out. Some of them were starting to tear. Well, more than half of the boxes were destroyed. They got crushed halfway through the shipping process. We kept getting like lost replacement orders like 2 or 3 weeks after the fact because FedEx or UPS or whatever sent it was finding stuff at various places that had fallen out. And we're like, I think this goes to you. And we just kept getting more and more stuff slowly trickling in that were supposed to be in the once arrived smashed order. Yeah, it was interesting.
You broke the system.
And it just kind of left it outside the house too, which is great.
That's awesome.
All like wrecked and falling out. No, I hope no.
So what was it like building on a convention floor? What was that experience like doing a trade show?
It was interesting because I had built the model before the show to make sure everything went together correctly and was stable. So I knew how everything went together, and I could get it done like in, I don't know, a day, but I had to stretch it over the course of 3 days. So I had to essentially slowly pace myself, but still make it look like I was doing something to draw people to the booth. So it was a lot of hammering a single brick in multiple times over the course of an hour, and then quickly getting a whole bunch done, then doing it slowly again, and speeding it up. And every once in a while, I think I took stuff off just to pace myself even more, to make it seem like I was actively doing this. And then also having to talk to people about what I was doing, and just like a normal convention. But also, if I remember correctly, I was really, really sick that week too. I was running a really high fever, so I don't remember most of it. It was a lot of cold medicine.
That's brilliant. That is utterly so. Just a little zonked off cold medicine, hammering away at an insurance convention.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, I do this for a living. This is my dream job.
My dream job.
Oh yeah.
How did I find myself here? How did I find myself here?
So, what are some of the strangest maybe commissions that you've had, or anything really odd that you would have never expected someone wanted you to build?
Well, the Sazabi commission was kind of out of the blue. The 3-foot-tall giant red Gundam mecha. Having never done a 3-foot-tall giant Gundam mecha before, or anything even similar to that, that was kind of an out-of-the-blue fun commission. And then throughout the process, the design kept being changed just slightly, so I'd have to redesign stuff. And something would collapse in on itself, and I'd have to fix it. And it was a learning experience doing a 3-foot-tall Gundam mech.
Yeah, and I
he's
remember
also,
seeing this in Brickworld. Yeah, that was a really amazing build. So.
Thanks. Yeah, he also lives in Australia, so he would email me periodically and say, "Can you do this, or can you add this to him, or can you change how you did this, or can you make this bigger? Can you make this smaller?" So it was interesting in that sense. And then at one point, to deliver it, he asked either if we could send it to Australia or if we can drop off at someone at his one of his relatives' houses in California, so that they can bring it to Australia when they visit him. So one of the times, my mother drove down to California at one point for some reason, so she essentially hand-delivered it to him, or not to him, but to the relative. So I assume that was rather fun for her, having to drive down. Also, we bubble wrapped the hell out of every time. It was like a full 3 or 4 hours of just bubble wrapping Sazabi in various parts for him to put back together.
Did it
I don't
make
know
it
if you've
there
even
okay?
gotten that.
Did it make it there okay?
It made it to California. He has. My mother's giving me 2 thumbs up in the corner here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it made it to California in one piece, or in lots of multiple pieces that are in one piece. But I don't think it's gotten to Australia yet, because they were going to hand deliver to him when they visit him later. So.
Very nice. I would have tried to talk about a trip to Australia. I would have said, I need to go to Australia to deliver.
Yeah. He wasn't willing to pay for my plane ticket.
Oh man. You gotta work on those negotiation skills. That's next time. You get the plane ticket in there at the beginning.
Yeah, and then next time I do another giant 3-foot-tall red mech.
We're going to Australia next time.
Definitely.
Next time I'll make sure I'll put the Australian contract in there. Yeah, I'll do the build, and I want to take it to Australia. You don't live there, but I want to go. It's not even a part of the build.
Next mock, Joshua. What are we talking about next?
So yeah, I did have one last question about your commissions. Are most of those then by normal people or companies? How does that usually work?
Well, what's your definition of a normal person who was someone to build them out of something out of Lego? I've only ever really done one. I did the Crum and Forster, which was the corporate commission, the first one I ever did. Then I did something for Kim for Lego. I did the built him a Lego Songbird for his office. So I guess that's technically a corporate commission? I don't know. But typically it's just people who are fans of my work or fans of a certain subject matter who want something built out of Lego and find me on Flickr or through someone they know who knows me. So usually just normal people. Just fans of video games or Lego or both.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, kind of somewhat, just everyday people wanting a cool build from you. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the next build that I wanted to make sure we definitely covered, because this is such a massive project, is a project that I believe you helped on and worked on with other people at the University of Colorado kind of Boulder campus. This was a Lego build you did of the whole campus. So if you can talk about kind of the history behind this project, how this came about, and then what you did on it.
Yeah, that's a fun project. It's actually still ongoing. We're going to keep adding more and more phases. Originally, it was only going to be a temporary thing, but it's kind of spiraled out of control. Yeah, there I am, working on the stadium.
There you go.
Yeah. So the group got contacted about possibly doing a temporary, semi-permanent sort of display for them for their Heritage Center. And one thing led to another, and it kept getting bigger, and they kept wanting us to do more stuff. So we actually had to place a Lego support order through Lego, and we kind of broke their system just a little bit. We placed the largest order with the most parts Lego had ever had to handle, and they kind of got a little angry at us for that. But it's resolved. The issue's fine now, and the project's beautiful, and everyone loves it. But yeah, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of... Yeah, I ended up having to do a lot more on it than I had first anticipated. I kind of got the whole landscaping thing thrown on me too, towards the end of the project. So I had to do all the hills and the bushes and the trees. God, I hate trees. no trees. Never gonna build a tree again in my life. I hate looking at them. I hate building them. And we had to glue most of it too, so it was permanent. I had to glue trees, branches on trees. No, you did nothing. You didn't glue anything.
I got high on glue. I had to.
Well, yes, you were getting high on glue in the corner, but you were not gluing anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was me in the stadium too. Yeah, she was getting on the corner with glue, and we were doing all the work. And there I am actually in that picture. I'm putting hundreds of little Lego mini-rigs in the stands. Just there for hours. I also had to build the stands, but not by choice, and I'm not gonna... No, actually, no, I didn't build the stands. I did not build the stands at all. I had no part in the stand making. That's all Ian. He did the stands. I'm not, no. That picture is clearly Photoshopped. That's not me. There's no way that I would spend hours putting mini-rigs in stands.
Oh, dear. And so what was it like planning out something like this? I'm imagining there's some form of planning that, like, how did they pick buildings they wanted you to build? Like, how did all that stuff work?
So we essentially, when they contacted us and we went ahead with the project, they gave us a list of buildings that they wanted represented in Lego at various sizes, either be it micro scale or minifig scale. And we essentially had the builders who were a part of this go over the list and say what they wanted to do and what they thought was feasible. And they each got separate contracts for each builder to build the various buildings that they wanted. And some buildings were reserved for later phases that they wanted, but we couldn't do because we had too many other things going on. And what are the words I'm looking for? So we each laid out, then one of the builders laid out a grid sort of to represent where we wanted the buildings to go and kind of based it off of how they actually were placed in real life, off of some of the maps they have for the campus. And we roughly laid stuff in, and it was kind of an ever-changing thing. We had one builder working on the various baseplate modules. We had various builders working on the buildings, some working on landscaping, some working on some of the... I was responsible for most of like the minifig scenes, which was fun. And then once we got everything on site, we tweaked a few little things here and there, but mostly we actually followed the grid that we had redesigned a couple times before we actually got on site. And then we had to redesign it a couple more times to get various buildings to fit appropriately once they were being delivered. Since everything's built off-site, we had to drag it all there to drop it all off. So yes, there was some pretty extensive planning beforehand, and there are lights that run through most of the buildings too. Oh. So we had to build special modules that were allowed to have cables run through them that we could quickly access in case something were to happen to the cables. Either they get crushed because of parts or someone steps on them or whatever. So it was a tedious but fun process in the end. And personally, I had a lot of fun on it. I love doing I think my mother's weeping in the corner now.
Oh dear! It sounds like we're having some.
It was a lot of
artist manager
conflict. Great. Yeah.
And Josh was now sharing a photo of. Is this a newer phase of the project? I want to say I recall.
Yes, that was the second phase where I did. That was the second phase where I did some of the. I did the Sink-In Shops, which is not on campus, but it's like where all the students hang out. It's like a line of various restaurants and shops and things. It's called The Hill. We called it the Sink-In Shops for the project. So yeah, it's The Hill, where they have like, there's the restaurant called The Sink, where everyone hangs out at. There's the Fisk, which I think is still, not this, that's the auditorium. I'm thinking Fox. The Fox Theater, which still a lot of the people go to, and they actually had us, had me pull some of the buildings from various time periods. They didn't want them all to be modern. So one of the theaters, the Flatiron Theater, I want to say, was they wanted it to be screening the New Hope, the very first Star Wars movie that was shown there at that theater, which is the one on the far left, I want to say.
Yeah, I see that there. That's cool. You definitely see how that's kind of an older, different generation than some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm. And they wanted me to do a cutaway of the inside. So the inside's a little more... not Art Deco-y per se, but a little older in fashion, and we even put a malt shop in next to it because it was cute. And there's, I think, a couple of Star Wars figures hanging out too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, they were really happy with that.
And so you mentioned that you had multiple builders working on it. What was it like closely collaborating with people? I saw you mentioned briefly contracts. What was that like? Have people kind of fallen off the wagon as you've gone on? Have there been like weird conflicts that pop up? Like, what's it like?
My mother's waving her arms around frantically saying, "Don't say anything, don't say anything." No, it was interesting working with a lot of different builders because everyone has their own way of approaching a problem. Some of them do a lot of digital design, others sort of wing it like I do, and so certain things had to sort of be, certain styles had to be kind of maintained. Different builders have their own way of building things, so I had to help some builders out as the project progressed, either due to time constraints or what the other projects they had working on at the time, or because one of the guys who took on a huge project of working on the stadium also took on the project of doing all the various lighting for us and all the electrical work. So he had his hands full, so I helped him a lot with some of the stadium work and some of the detail work around the stadium. But he still ultimately is going to go back and go back to his original plans down the road and build it the way he digitally did it. But so a lot of the stuff is kind of winged last minute, but it still looks great. Like I said, we kind of make stuff up a lot as we go along. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Other builders
working with others
a little late getting certain things to us, but it ultimately worked out in the end.
Yep, that's all that matters. Working with other people, it's always
as long as the end result's beautiful, it doesn't really matter what it took to get it.
Yep. And talk about the impact that the display has had upon the Heritage Center. Have they seen like an uptick in? Have they seen an uptick in visitors?
Oh my God! Yes, have they? They have had huge crowds going through the. In fact, at certain points, the what is it, like the building fire marshal person has actually had them have to limit the amount of people going up levels. Since this building's like ancient, it's safety concerns were called into question when due to the crowds. Yeah, they've had thousands of people when they would only get hundreds. So
that's awesome.
Yes, the Heritage Center is more than happy that this display was so successful, and also we've been designing sets for them too that they can sell at the Heritage Center to support their nonprofit. So
that's awesome. So if any other universities are watching and want to do a duplicate of this and maybe want to fly you out to their campus and you can build another,
we haven't had that offer yet. My mother just pretended to shoot herself. We have had that. Our group hasn't been contacted to do that yet, not another show of this scale, but apparently, according to the Heritage Center, certain other, what's the word I'm looking for? Certain other...
Like visitors?
Certain other visitors and other parts of campus have contacted the Heritage Center specifically asking if we can do stuff for some of their things. I think at one point they wanted me to build another Old Main, which is the building I worked on for them, for a different part of the campus. So our group is getting a lot. It's its name out there through this, and the Heritage Center has been having all sorts of visitors coming in, which is everyone's happy. So
that's awesome. So everyone is gotten what they want, or everything is working out beautifully. That's amazing.
Except I never want to build a tree again.
Well,
somebody else does the landscape next time.
What are you gonna do? Gosh.
Yeah, that is really neat that you're able to work on that project, and it's a fairly unique thing there too. You know, like you were saying, it's not like a bunch of people, universities and people are doing this. So it's always cool when you can work on unique Lego projects that really add something different to the community. Yeah,
that was what the Heritage Center wanted to do to begin with. Was since nobody else is doing this and everyone loves Lego, we want to have people come in here and see. Let's look at the history of the school. Let's get Lego to. Let's do a Lego thing to pull people in. And now that it has kind of exploded, we're adding. It was originally only going to be 2 phases, but now we're going into phase 3 and phase 4, and I actually kind of want us to move into a larger room, which means we're going to have to move the entire already built display to a different room. So we're going to have to tear down everything again, move it, put it all back together, make sure all the lighting works again. My mother's now rocking back and forth in the fetal position in the corner. This is great.
It's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. In addition to building more kits for them, originally it was an original Buffalo kit for them, which everyone loved. But since then, we've done a whole bunch of other exclusive kits for them, satellites, and we're currently working on a little Old Main micro scale kit. And the Old Main is actually the building this display is in, which is kind of cool. So I'm building essentially a Lego Old Main so that they can sell Old Main to draw people to Old Main. And then we're adding more and more buildings in the new phases and doing all sorts of other stuff. So changing out the scenes. And Ryan Howard, another well-known builder, is doing all the various spacecraft that they have hanging above the display, which I don't know if you have any pictures of, but he did a large Maven. He did a couple other ones. I'm not remembering the names now, and he's been getting a lot of work out of this too. In fact, certain things for NASA themselves. He's built various spaceships for them, which is really awesome. Yeah. So this whole display has been helping out everyone in the community, which is really cool.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is great. So
contact Ryan and tell him to build spaceships for you.
That's right. So yeah, if you need commissions, you know who to go to here.
You need spaceships built, go to him. Ask him to build a Maven for you. He'll do that.
Very nice. And then I wanted to cover some other interesting things. This is kind of related to your building and other interests you have. So for people who might be familiar with your Lego builds, maybe follow your stuff online. What are some of your other interests and maybe hobbies besides Lego? When you aren't a big Lego fan, or when you aren't doing Lego building, what else are you involved in?
Well, there's the water skiing, there's the mountain biking, I'm really into Irish folk dancing, and I collect buttons. No,
very diverse.
Yeah, no, I'm a big time gamer, so I do lots of video game stuff, typically RTSs and first-person shooters. But I also run a lot of the 40K stuff at the store run a lot of 40K stuff with a buddy of mine down at the store in Longmont, where I live. Warhammer 40K is a tabletop war miniature game where you got little guys, you paint them up, you assemble them, you roll dice, you shoot things. It's a really fun game. And I do that in addition to, of course, the video game stuff like I mentioned before, but it's essentially the other really big hobby of mine. A lot of manual stuff, assembling guys, and really, really geeky stuff, but I love it.
And then when you want to get outside and breathe the fresh Colorado air, you go for a mountain bike ride?
There's an outside?
The outdoors?
The stuff that filters through my basement windows, that bright, white, glowy, yellow stuff? I don't like that.
No?
It's scary.
No.
Scary.
It's very scary out there. It hurts my eyes. All that bright stuff, yeah.
Oh dear. Well, that sounds like a well-rounded amount of interest there. It was sunlight or no sunlight. I'm sunlight neutral myself.
I don't like the sunlight. It burns my skin. Yeah, so I'm pretty much an introvert who stays inside and builds stuff. That's about it.
Nothing wrong with that. That is brilliant. I myself collect stamps, so I sympathize with your collection of buttons.
You do realize I'm joking about the whole button collecting, right?
I know. I just want to hope. I just want to believe things. I don't know.
I do collect bottle caps for when the apocalypse happens, but that's mostly because I play Fallout.
Oh dear. Next question, Joshua.
Okay, moving on. Something that's always interesting to ask builders, where you get your inspiration from and that kind of thing, what you do as your build. So do you have any kind of entertainment going while you build, or anything you listen to, watch, that type of thing?
Sometimes I have the TV on in the background, whatever's on. Usually it's the reruns of Family Guy or South Park or whatever's on Adult Swim or Comedy Central. But sometimes of late I've been just sort of throwing on YouTube and letting it randomly cycle through things. I've been exposed to a lot of very interesting music that way. But
you find yourself in the dark parts of YouTube every once in a while?
Yes. We don't talk about that.
We don't.
We do not talk about that. I've also had my buddies on Steam send me stuff periodically to listen to and watch, and again, that's also typically leads to darker parts of the internet, so we don't talk about that.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah, no. There's a reason not to in when I'm online. I don't want stuff being recorded.
That's awesome.
No. Yeah. But no, as far as inspiration for builds, I usually pull that from various video games or Warhammer 40k or whatever my club kids come up with. Because I typically build missions for them. So essentially whatever they want to do on a various week, I'll build something for them to interact with or play with or blow up. So.
What's the weirdest thing that has like directly inspired a Lego build in some way?
That's an interesting question.
Like someone you saw at Walmart at 2 in the morning. That myself, I've been inspired before.
Well, some of my club kids can build some very interesting things. One of them was a character that he created. His name is Mr. Poof. He has bright red hair. He's made of diamond, apparently. And as of late, he's been flying around on a giant blue jay that is equipped with a twin-linked heavy flamer. That is a character that he sends on various club mission stuff. He flies around in a blue jay with a heavy flamer.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. He's done some very interesting things. He's also made a party bus. He has a panda with sunglasses. And, what's the other thing? Krusty, the cybernetic clown, was also one of his creations. It's essentially Krusty the Clown from Simpsons with a cybernetic robotic body that has the ability to turn invisible, but the head does not turn invisible. Just thus rendering the invisibility completely and absolutely pointless, and he realizes this fact, so for most of the time he's just flying around as a little floating head. Because his body's invisible, but his head isn't. Yeah.
So that club is a great source for inspiration and just randomly.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's Victor, Ellie, Ironhead, Sebastian, and Max are my kids. Ironhead's real name is Luke, but we call him Ironhead because he has a tendency to run into things and it doesn't really hurt him at all. He's run into like corners of tables, door frames, walls, other kids with his head, and he's completely fine. Yeah, I have quite a city queue going in the back. Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah. I'm sure, a lot of people probably wish they could have that kind of, crazy inspiration. I'm sure you could come up with all sorts of new stuff if you had little, 9-year-old imaginations all the time coming up with designs.
Indeed, it is. I do pull lots of inspiration from them. They're really, really awesome.
And so we've mentioned Brickworld Chicago a few times throughout the show. Are there any other conventions you'll be making it to besides Brickworld this year? Where can people maybe see your work in person or meet you in person if they want to do that?
No other cons light up. Usually I also try to swing the Comic-Con, DCC, Denver Comic-Con, but that sometimes every once in a while it lines up with the same dates as Brickworld, so you usually have to choose between the two. So I'm going to Brickworld this year. But for the most part, I don't really do any sorts of cons. I still do various shows with the lug every once in a while around the community, like at various museums or school things or store stuff or whatever. But no really other cons. I'm too busy with everything else.
And then you mentioned that Catalog does several other shows that are they like non-Lego oriented shows that they participate in?
Yes, they do. They frequent some of the various Colorado train shows where they do the model trains. Usually the train shows are more than happy to give us some space to do Lego stuff to pull in a younger crowd. And there's Denver Comic-Con, which is also what they do. There's Fort Collins Comic-Con, which is a smaller Comic-Con that has started up in Fort Collins. In fact, actually, I'll be going to that one. So. And then there's also the Mini Maker Fair, which Colorado has, which we also typically do.
And so what is it like being a Lego person at those events? I always find that very interesting myself.
Fun, because Lego has become very, very well known in the past couple of years. So everyone knows it, everyone loves it, and they're always very interesting to see someone who does it, who builds builds Lego professionally. So I have lots of interesting conversations with various other artists or various other hobbyists as far as what I do and how I got into this field and how I'm able to support myself and that sort of thing. And also from the art aspect, where why you do this and how long you've been doing this. And it's always all the sorts of various fun conversations with people. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
always a
definitely.
good time.
Yeah, very nice. And so then, having gone to Brick World Chicago for several years now, do you have any maybe funny or interesting stories from your time there? You know, obviously people like to get up to some crazy shenanigans as conventions go on. It gets later at night throughout the days the convention takes place. So anything you care to share here?
Matthew, you gonna go offline there, or no, you're not.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mel still has the pics.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, no, it's always very, very fun stuff after hours. Almost always alcohol is involved with those who are legal to drink it, and almost always someone brings along Cards Against Humanity, which always makes everything else more crazy. Yeah, always a really, really good time.
And I think, so this past year, this is 2015.
And whoever falls asleep first always has a prank pulled on them of some sort. I remember there was, at one point, someone who fell asleep on the couch, and we put some stanchions around it and moved the couch to like the middle of the room and put a Do Not Disturb sign next to it. And he woke up the next morning kind of dazed and confused.
All kinds of shenanigans.
Yeah. So don't fall asleep after hours of Brick World. We will help you.
Lots and lots of after-hour shenanigans. And imagine, I think I've been fortunate enough to spend some time with you after Brick World Chicago these past 2 years. I believe I went to an Indian restaurant with you, or I was at an Indian restaurant with you the Monday after Brick World, not this past year, the year before, 2014. And this past year, we auto-drafted some Lego sets while eating deep dish pizza, I believe.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we did a draft of one of the small, it was like Chima polybag sets you just had on you, and you were like, let's draft this. And I was like, oh, okay. That was fun. We always typically, my mother always typically, after the show, Brick World ends, she usually orders a whole bunch of deep dish, like Luminati's pizzas that she brings over to the lobby of the hotel. And I think that's the only time Brian actually has a chance to eat, honestly. Because he's always there, and he always has several pieces. So it's always really fun to hang out after the show, and during the show.
Definitely. But I love the after hours, especially the Monday after. Best thing ever.
Yeah. There's always a few people still hanging around.
Definitely.
And that's one cool thing that when you mentioned, you know, hanging out during the show, I know something that Gamerlug does that is fairly unique at conventions. You guys kind of set up like a gaming system, maybe multiple gaming systems, I can't remember exactly, and you just, as the public are there at the booth where all your creations are displayed, have like a TV set up, and then your gaming system's connected, and you're just playing all different games usually? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's usually how it works. Well, we're Gamerlug. We wouldn't be gamers if we didn't bring our games with us.
That's right.
So yeah, we always have a TV there. In fact, I think Church is the one who is the assigned holder of the Holy Television, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's his responsibility to bring it to every show, every Brick World. And we set it up. We usually put a mock of some sort in front of it on one side to obscure it. We have it facing towards the inside of our booth. And whenever we're not talking to the public, we're playing some sort of game. Be it Nintendo like Smash Bros. Or Halo, or at one point, in fact, we had a pretty serious goat simulator game going on. Yeah, that was the thing. We were simulating goats, and they were flying all over the place and blowing things up. And every once in a while, if there's a person either in the public or another builder who's floating around enough, usually we invite him in and have him play a couple games with us. just it's fun. I mean,
Right.
can't
Yeah,
take this stuff
that's what
too
it's all about.
seriously.
Yeah.
It's boring.
You know, you include as many people as possible. That's really cool because the public I know loves seeing that type of interaction as well.
Yeah, yeah. They're enjoying the show. Why not play a game with them?
Very nice. Well, I think to about finish it out for us tonight, and this question applies to you in a unique way since at one time you did live on an island in Hawaii. But if you had to live on a desert island, you know, this by yourself for the rest of your life, what set would you choose to bring with you?
I think I said before it would be the Incredible Holly Bag. Just so I could run around the island going, ah! Hulk smash! Ah! And then that would just be my life. Just running around an island with a little Hulk minifigure, breaking things. Yeah. what color? Just, ah! Yeah.
Yeah, epic.
You only need a few pieces there with the Hulk minifigs. Just that's all you need is to keep you company.
Yeah, just a minifig. No parts. Just a minifigure. Just, ah! That'd be my life on the island. Ah!
There you go. Well, I think that sounds good. And I think that about wraps it up for us tonight as well, Imagine. So it's been a real pleasure having you on the show and getting to talk with you here about your history with the community and some of your builds. I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Thanks for having me.
And for people who might be interested in checking out your work or possibly even contacting you for a commission, what's the best way they can do that?
Through Flickr is typically the best way.
Okay, awesome.
And my email's on my profile page for Flickr as well. So either of those will work.
That works great then. So I'll have a link in the description of this video for people to check out your Flickr page, and definitely, yeah, feel free to contact Imagine there if you have any inquiries about a commission that you might want him to do. So then I guess people can look forward to seeing your work at Brickworld Chicago then this year?
Indeed, and me being the Brickworld Master, or I won it last year, means I have to hide a little thing on everyone's display the last day of Brickworld. And I have quite a plan for that.
We'll be looking forward to that. I'm sure there'll be some cool stuff there.
Yes. It's all Simon's fault, though. Blame him.
Very nice. So yeah, thanks everyone then for joining us on the show tonight, and thank you once again, Imagine. It was a great episode here, and it's always great to have you join us and get a chance to talk with you again. Thank you. I'm sure we'll talk again in the future at some point.
Thank you, Imagine.
Look forward to it.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you soon.